Hey, what's happening? What's happening out there, folks? How you doing this evening on this February 9th, 2026? Welcome to another edition of On the Cutting Room Floor. You know what we doing? We podcasting, broadcasting from the southwest part of Sacramento, the Greenhaven Pocket area. Let's get right down into it because I haven't talked to you guys in a while since the Kings had a three game homestand. He lost all three of those games, and he lost again tonight. Yes, they lost again tonight. Excuse me. It's been a long day, and as you can see, I'm in another attire because I just had to leave the state capitol to catch the second half of the game. I was listening to most of it in the first half, listening to Gary Gerald radio show as he delivered the news. For all four quarters. But anyway, let's start here. The Sacramento Kings, they set a new record for the longest losing streak since moving to the city in 1985, falling 120 to 94 to the New Orleans Pelicans at Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. So the Kings have 13 consecutive winless games. 13 consecutive winless games, including 15 on the road this season. They have lost their last 15 on the road this season. They have not won on an opposing team floor since December 5th when they beat the Miami Heat. Miami Heat. Yes, so we're going to recap this thing minimal-wise because of my long day, to be exact, and just touch upon some other things because there was some good things that did come out of this. Let me break it down to you now. As a matter of fact, the Kings eclipsed the losing streak record, 13 straight, that was once owned by the 1997-1998 campaign. 1997-1998. Now, the current losing streak on the road, they far from that. They're far from that. The squad who owns that record, might want to put them, two of them in because it spanned over two seasons. And they lost 43 straight games between 1991 and 1991-92. So that was they lost between two seasons, 1990 and 1991, and then 1991 and 1992. And that streak stretched from November 20th, 1990 to November 24th, 1991. So that was basically a full season, but 43 games. As you know, they only played 41 games on the road, so they just clipped that by 2 games. That's the losing streak. But they're far from that. But right now, they need a win. Ooh, do they need a win? They need a win. They need a victory. They need a victory badly now. Loving what's happening with the development of these young players. They are coming along strong. Matter of fact, I think they should be the one to be leading this charge as far as trying to get that win. And hopefully they can do that in Utah on February 11th. That'll be the last game before the All-Star break. Let's see what happens there. But the Kings need a win. Loving what they're doing, with these young players, what they've been doing in those last 3 games that they played here in Sacramento at G1C. But they need a victory right now. And the way they was playing in those last 3 games, I was hoping just them only, will be the catalyst of trying to get this win in New Orleans. But with Trey Murphy and Zion Williamson and Jeremiah Fears and things going on down there, and this, make no mistake about it, the Pelicans are 15-40 on the year, 9-19 at home. They're definitely breaking it down and trying to restart up. So, but they got some good key pieces in place, to make that happen. The Kings, they fall to 12-43 on the season and 3-22 on the road. 3-22 on the road. The Kings need a win. Kings need a win. Now, before I start with the Pelicans, I do want to start right here because Brother Man was doing his thing. And I am talking about the one and only, let's make sure we got here, Maxime Raynaud. Maxime, Maxime had 21 points and 19 rebounds. 19 rebounds is a career record. Yes, Maxime Raynaud, he had 21 points and 19 rebounds, one steal in 38 minutes. The 19 rebounds is a career high. He's been playing solid. We can say what Dylan Cardwell's going to have his moments. Mac's going to have his moments. Nick is going to have his moment. Devin Carter is having his moment. Okay, Daquan Plowden is having this moment. Yes, I am talking about the youth that they have right now that they're giving a lot of, a lot of floor time, and they're making it happen. We really want to get into it and start talking about Maxime and Dylan and Neek and on and on and on. Have to give General Manager Scott Perry some type of credit, okay? At least what he's doing with these young guys. All right, now Devin wasn't factored in hardly at all this season because of the quote-unquote logjam with the guards. All right, now he's getting that opportunity since, Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis has moved on. Now he's going to get that opportunity because, yes, they are cutting these veterans minutes, as we can see right now. And for the last 27 games, that should be done by head coach Doug Christie. But I do want to say that despite, not a lot of activities happening, around the trade deadline last week, they were able to get DeAndre Hunter from the Cleveland Cavaliers. By the way, he will be out for the next 10 months with an eye injury. So far, so good. We already knew this thing wasn't going to take place overnight. I know a lot of people would love to have that happen. I wouldn't mind seeing it happen too, but it's going to take some time, and he pretty much explained that. I'm talking about Scott Perry in that press conference last week. So if anything, with all the questions that, that was posed to him, the fact that he just came out and spoke to us, and he did talk about his youth group, the fact that he just came out and spoke to us, a couple days, the day after the trade deadline, says a lot to me, okay? I already knew whatever the deal was going to be as far as trading, maybe waived. They haven't waived anybody. Elevating some players, from the G League, like as they did with Daquan Plowden and Isaiah Stevens, that there wasn't going to be a lot of happiness there. Everybody wasn't going to be happy. You wasn't going to be, have joy about what was going to happen. All right. Certainly didn't want to let Keon Ellis go, but there were some other things behind the scene that was going on. And what Malik Monk had already explained to us, those two was ready to go anyway. Okay. That's the professionalism of the association. Cool. But I do want to point out that at least he brought in a core. Talking about Scott Perry. He brought in a core of players to try to reach those standards that they're trying to get to. All right. With these established veterans, we already know what they're made of. Like I said, we just have to bless them. We know what the deal is, and they know what the deal is because they're professionals as well. All right. We got gobs of years of experience, with Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine did not play again tonight. Okay, DeMontis, he's still out too. He did not play again tonight. Now I don't think either one of them will play in Utah in a couple of days, but we'll see, how that shakes out though. But really have to give it to Scott Perry at this point. Showing some type of face. Having some sort of transparency. I would say full transparency as much as possible because he's not going to tell you everything that's what's on his plate or what their agenda is or what their plan is going through. But just coming out, he had a prepared statement. He said that for a few minutes and then he, shot around the room and answered a few questions. Can't ask too much more than that. Some people really would like to do that, but we'll just take what we have because, in the past few years, it hasn't been like that. Scott has been making his rounds around the local media, talking to certain people and national media as well, trying to share some type of information. And then when I mean by sharing information, he relates it, he transfers it through the media so it can get to the fans. Who cares most? All right? Who cares most? So, yeah, She's going to say some things that you like. She's going to say a lot of things that you don't like. She's going to say a lot of things that you don't understand. Okay? She's going to say a lot of things is why you say it. But that's the nature of it. Okay? Because here's the number one thing. When you're doing this, you're having these, these dialogues and conversations and these little questioning sessions, things like that. It's the response. I don't care who asked the question, who think they this and who think they that, as far as that. It always land on the response. Okay? The response. And was it clear enough for the fans to understand somewhat of what they're trying to do? Because no, he's been preaching it since he's been here. Patience. Fans don't want to see it. I don't want to see it, but we're going to see it. We're going to feel it because this is what it takes. And then hopefully the way things are going, because they are in the running for that first pick, but they only got a 14% chance of getting it, but at least they would have that, And I'm talking about the NBA lottery draft. That would be nice. That would be great. But yeah, once again, Scott Perry, thanks for that, and hope to have, see more of that, in the future too, when warranted. Okay, after the trading deadline, I just felt like it was warranted. And then if you look across the league, other general managers, presidents of basketball operations and things like that, they came forward to explain, at least let everybody know, keep them in tune to what they're doing and why they're doing it or why they didn't do it. It really helps us out. It really helps us out. So you have to be mindful of that. You definitely have to be respectful of that, and you have to honor that. What I mean by honor, so they can come back out and do this again and again. Again and again. Because believe me, yes, I have breached trust, without knowing that. But, hey, I understand that too. But, in this business of journalism, and I am talking about the business of journalism, I'm not talking about, running fan clubs and things like that. Okay? We as reporters have to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good and everything in the middle. All right? We get critiqued all the time too. We get praises all the time too. All right? And that's not even in sports. That's in the politics. It's covering city government. Okay? Social justice. All right? Health. Cops in court. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. But, back on to the Sacramento Kings. And, let's see. Because Raynaud, he had a big first half too. The Kings were down about 17 points during two separate intervals in the first half. The Pelicans led 61-46 at the break. Murphy and Williamson, they totaled for 25 points in the first half. New Orleans had 16 fast break points to the Kings 2 in the first half. Raynaud, he had 11 points and 9 rebounds for the Kings, who had 10 turnovers in that first half. So they had some problem with the turnover in the second half. Okay, through 3 quarters, the Kings had led by 30 points. In the final 12 minutes, New Orleans led 105-73, and that was the biggest margin of the game. Of course, they won the game. The Pelicans had 30 assists and finished with 34 fast break points to the Kings 16. One thing that was good about that, well, I do want to point out, but the Kings did score 70 points in the paint. They did. They only made 4 of 31 shots in three-point territory for 12.9%. They had a horrible performance beyond the arc. Beyond the arc. Horrible. 4-31. I think at one point they said they were 2 for 22. So you knew they was having a bad night. So overall, the Kings made 40 of 99 shots from the field at 40.4%, and they committed 14 turnovers. Seemed like it was more than that. The Kings Kings have one more game before All-Star break, and that would be the Utah Jazz on February the 11th, Wednesday, February the 11th. I'm sitting here listening to this game because, it really got away from them in the third quarter. And I did tell Kyle Draper this in that last 3-game homestand here, that how he was keeping me engaged. I don't know how everybody else felt. He was keeping me engaged when they was on that when they lost all 6 games on the road before they came back home, and a couple of them was a blowout. But they were able to do the hold their own. And I really, I'll just say this, with Kyle Draper and his sidekick, maybe I shouldn't call it sidekick. That's not the way. His colleague, Katie Christensen, that they've been able to keep it going. That's their job, That's their job. A lot of talking, a lot of analyzing, a lot of observing, okay, trying to break down things and try to keep the audience engaged when the Kings are going through these struggles. There's been many of them too. So I like that. Now, I only listened to like the second half of the game. I didn't listen to the first half of the game. That was mostly, on radio while I was en route, to return home and things like that. But Gary keeps it going too. Gary said some funny stuff tonight. I'm not going to even say some things, but it was about some individuals, what they were doing on the floor too. But I'm gonna just leave it at that because Gary Gerald, G-Man, he has been nothing but a professional as well. So yeah, folks, that's basically where we at right now, where we are with the Sacramento Kings. So they are currently 12-43 on the season. So that's 55 games right there, with 27 to go. 27 games to go. And that's about how it is because after the All-Star break, they'll have 26 games remaining on the schedule. And then we can relax for a minute or a couple months to see what that NBA draft look like and see where they finish at the end of the season anyway. How they finish it. But right now, and I'll still say it. I'll still be correct about it. If you win, you win. If you lose, you win. If you win, you win. You lose, you win. But right now, y'all got to get a victory. Now, we're in that space that got to get a game. Feel good about yourself. Got to get a game. The rookies got to be a part of it. But if not, okay. Hopefully they are. This really ain't even about tanking, okay, or anything like that. You just have to get a victory right now. Have to get a victory, Sacramento Kings. Well, don't want to keep you too long. We'll be back in 48 hours after the game in Utah, and then we'll be able to relax for about a week. The Kings won't return to action till Wednesday, February 19th. They go to one center. That's after the All-Star break. As you know, they get to take a little break. They get to get out the country or do whatever they want to do and relax for a little while. And as Maxime Raynaud said, check out, check in mentally, however you want to put that, however you want to say it. But they get to, work on their bodies and, let it calm down and get it ready for these last 26 games of the season. Yeah, that's how it should be done. And you, once again, I don't care, 20, 40, 50, 70, whoever views this, how many times did you come back? I appreciate you stopping in and giving me a little bit of your time, sharing your time with me as I share my time with you. I will be back. Peace, love, and happiness. I'm out.